Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Jessica Nicole. I'm a self-published author of YA fantasy romance novels, and in today's video, we are actually going to be reading and annotating one of my novels, and I'm so excited about it. So this is actually my Forest View Academy duology. It's the very first two novels that I have written and published under like my new and improved writing career. So I am gonna be doing book one today in this video. So book one is here, book two starts here, and so I'm doing book one today. It's the longer of the two, and it's Sparks and Shadows. I'm basically going to be reading and annotating my own novel because I want to basically track my story. I want to read my story again. I want to see how much I've grown. I want to see like things I like and things I don't like, things I can improve on. And I made this little key on the inside cover here. So basically I'm going to be marking, annotating the romance pink, just things that stand out to me in the romance, things that I like a lot. My world green, characters blue, magic system purple, and conflict yellow. So yeah, I think this will be a fun video. Hopefully it's fun. Hopefully I don't come away from it thinking I'm like just a crappy writer, but yeah, I'm just gonna go through this spoiler free, of course. I'm just gonna point out little things that wouldn't spoil anything, and yeah, if you haven't already read it, maybe this will motivate you to read it. I hope that's the case anyway. But yeah, I just want to do this for all my books just so I can, you know, grow as a writer, and every single thing that I write, I want it to be the best thing that I've ever written, and the only surefire way for me to do that is for me to continue to grow and learn from my past writing. So here we go. Reading and annotating Sparks and Shadows. So I just finished doing chapter one. A general premise of this book is that it centers around a girl named Claire who has spent her whole life being very ordinary, and then one night while she's at work something happens and she's no longer ordinary anymore. In fact, she's never been. She's a half-blood princess to a race of fae existing in an alternate dimension, and people are out for her blood because she is a half-blood, so she should not exist in their opinion. And so there are the light fae and the dark fae, or just the regular fae and the dark fae, and the dark fae are basically out to get her. And her fae king father has basically sent her bodyguards, and so that's kind of like where chapter one picks up. That's where chapter one ends. She meets one of her bodyguards. But I'm gonna go through my annotations real quick. So I put at the end of this chapter that I liked how I started and ended chapter one with dialogue. I love dialogue. I love just having more dialogue than description, honestly. That's what I like to read, so that's how I like to write. I love how I gave you kind of a sense of Claire's personality right off the bat with her just inner monologue here. I basically made Claire me at that age. Fun fact about this book, I've been writing this book in some way, shape, or form since I was 16. So I worked at the local burger joint at 16, Claire, and I hated every minute of it. So does Claire. And so I put that here. Also, I liked how I made a note up here that I liked how I contrasted her life in the human world with the life she's gonna have in the Fae world, and it kind of plays up that fish out of water thing. I also decided to like underline lines that I really liked just in black. And I'm doing some character highlighting here. When characters that are important to the story first appear, I just underline their names in blue. Setting up the worlds here. We get our first taste of conflict here. Claire has walked home from work and her mom has told her 1,000 times, you know, you can't be walking around by yourself. She thinks it's because they live in like this really bad part of town, but it's because her mom knows the secret that she's kept from Claire her whole life. basically that she's this fey princess. So her mom's like, you know, you can't be doing that by yourself. Her and her mom get into a fight that night that Claire walks home because, you know, Claire's like, she's basically tired of all the secrets her mom keeps from her. And then Claire has this dream that kind of introduces the magic system. So basically, humans that come into contact with fey magic are basically not the same anymore. Like, some of them develop powers. This happened to Claire's mom, and Claire sort of inherited her mom's ability that she inherited, that she got from being in contact with fey magic. And we get this conflict, this confrontation between Claire and her boss is just pretty much, I just love this confrontation here, just because something similar happened to me when I was 16. Also, I put a note here. I described some of Claire's coworkers in this paragraph, and I put a note here that, like, bringing real life experiences just makes the story feel more real, and so I always want to do that, and so I just made a note of it, because I feel like it fleshes the story out so much. This is our first introduction to Cindrillin. This is a description of her. A quote she says, it's kind of like the driving force for her character, so I highlighted that in blue. We get our first introduction to Silas and the conflict between him and Cindrillin. Silas is one of the bodyguards sent to protect Claire, and Cindrillin is the leader of the Dark Fae, trying to kill her, basically. The way the magic system works, this is Claire's like first look at the magic system, so I underlined that in purple. My descriptions of the Fae, how the Fae look, and as the way Claire sees them anyway, how they look, and I just bracketed those in green and circled those in green. More conflict here. Our first little hint of romance, I don't know, I just like that he calls her princess, and I basically just put a note here because I did not realize until just now that I gave Silas gray eyes, and I also gave Leica, the main guy in my Crimson Silver duology, the duology I'm working on right now, I gave him like silver gray eyes as well, so apparently I have a thing for gray eyes. And that is chapter 1, and I'm on my way to chapter 2. Okay, so it's a little while later, and I've worked my way through the first 5 chapters, so I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the plot while I flip through and show you guys what I've done. So, I have been getting more and more interactions between my protagonist and my love interest, so at this point it's pretty much banter, like it's giving enemies to lovers at this point. So when you see pink, it's pretty much banter, it's not like fluffy romantic love. So Claire and her mom have basically, they gotta get out of there. See, enemies to lovers, and my yellow for conflict. They basically gotta get out of there because of the people that are after Claire. So they are headed to the Fae realm, where Claire's dad is pretty much like a king. So here I am explaining the magic system, more about the world, and Claire's mom is basically explaining like her background in the Fae realm and why she had to leave, and just more about the magic system. I feel like a magic system should always build on itself. And it's important to know the rules of your own magic system when you're writing, so that you don't have to go back, so that basically you don't write yourself into a corner. And going into this, like I said, I've been writing this book since I was 16 in some way, shape, or form, so I was pretty clear on the magic system. However, I had to like really be careful and not let things get muddled, because I've written so many different versions of this book. I like how easy the book is for me to read, like going through it. It was really easy to read. I don't know. I don't feel like I have to be like really pretentious with my writing. It frustrates me when I read books like that. So I like that my book feels easy to read. And for that reason it reads kind of fast, and you feel like you're making a lot of progress in the book when you read it, which gives you like a little endorphins boost when you read. At least it does for me. We basically hopped right into the action, which is also something I feel like you should try to do when you're writing your own story. You want to start like in the middle of things, right before the big catalyst happens that's going to set the events of your book in motion, basically. So this basically describes like the portals, how the magic of the portals works. So basically the Fey realm and the human realm used to be one thing until they weren't anymore, for reasons. And so the portals are basically like breaches in the barrier that divides the Fey realm and the human realm. So describing the Fey realm just basically through Claire's eyes, so there is a lot of description here, but I kind of tried to make it as poetic as possible. I like that flowy, flowery writing in fantasy when it's called for. Like I said, I'm more dialogue than description, but when the description needs to be there, I try to make it as pretty as possible. I love this line, so I underlined it. More of the conflict here. This is basically just explaining why they had to leave in such a rush. And then we've got more banter between the two of them. We've got some characterization here with some little romantic banter there. And then we get over here to where the campus is first described and the grounds of the campus are first described. We've got a little bantery interaction here. I love this. I just love it. I love it so much. I love how their banter is, and I love that I included so much of it, because banter is one of my favorite things to read in like these star-crossed enemies to lovers situations. This is Claire meeting her dad for the first time, pretty much. So there was a lot going on there, and there's a lot of like subplot going on with Claire's parents, because they didn't really part on good terms. They separated kind of to protect her, but it was more the mom's decision than the dad's, and so he kind of resents her for that. She resents him because of something she finds out in this chapter, something that he did. And they basically have a lot going on. So we move further through the story. We get some more description. We get some more conflict. This is Cinderellan's true motivation for why she's basically hunting Claire. And we've got some of Silas's pushiness, just evidence of that. It's one of his character flaws, and that's another thing. I really think it's important to give your characters character flaws, because it makes them feel more real. And so like when you're writing, really think about, even maybe before you're writing, when you're planning, think about what flaws you want your characters to have. And then we move on to chapter 3. We've got more characterization here. We've got some more just the lines that I really like. We've got a campus tour, and I basically underlined places where, like as they're mentioned, like the names for places, so they don't call the dormitory a dormitory, they call it the keep, for example. So I underlined the keep and basically the description of it. I do that a lot throughout here. And this is the description of inside the keep. This is basically where we get a little bit more characterization on Juniper and what kind of personality she has. She's a really good friend. Like Claire notices she's a really good friend because she like almost tells a secret she shouldn't tell. And she stops herself and basically says that it's not her story to tell. And we've got like some description of Claire's room. Claire finds a picture of one of her new roommates with Silas, and she finds out that they were basically a thing, and she gets kind of jealous here, and I thought that was cute, so I highlighted it pink. And then we meet Isla. their whole interaction there. And then we get into pink galore over here because we've got a scene where Claire kind of accidentally walks in on Silas in the bathroom when he is taking a bath, and so yeah, just the chaos ensues. I just did little pink dots here so I wouldn't just have like a whole pink page. Character description, I just made a note of that. As you can see, she waxes a little poetic about his physical features, but yeah, I feel like it's called for, right? It's a YA fantasy romance, you know? Just lines that I love. I love this little maneuver here. I don't know, I was really impressed by it, so I underlined it black. More pink, more romance. She kind of like falls asleep thinking about him and how much she hates him, basically. More magic system stuff here, just bracketed in purple. The messenger crows. Here's her class schedule. And I liked this line. So Claire's basically like spent her life trying to blend into the background, and Juniper basically tells her like no more hiding, and that she's not going to let her do that anymore. And so this is the description of Gigi's, which is like the campus diner, and I just underlined that in green. We've got Gigi and Ash, like the first appearance of them, their physical appearances. The different student levels is explained. I did this in green because it's kind of part of the world. Basically, kids come to Forest View Academy to learn how to get better at wielding the elements so that they can serve the realm. And so the different student levels kind of is how they're divided based on how good they are, pretty much. And so this is where Claire basically learns that her position, like succeeding her dad, is not guaranteed, and since she is half human, she has never wielded the elements. She doesn't know if she can wield the elements, and there are people who are going to basically try to take her spot, take her birthright, if they find out that she can't wield the elements. So she's gonna kind of have a crash course in wielding the elements and have to learn in a couple months what it takes people years to learn, basically. We've got an introduction to Thatch here. So this is the first time we see him, so I underlined that in blue. There's like a thing going on with him and Juniper, like a conflict going on there that we learn more about later on. We have some more of that conflict, some more lines that I really liked and underlined. I just love how witty I made her. I really like her. She feels real, and I don't know. She feels really real to me, and that's how I know that I basically did my job with her. I have lots of these like father-daughter bonding moments because I feel like it makes the story feel more human, like I'm writing about inhuman characters, but they still have these human moments, and I think that makes the story relatable. I pointed out one of Claire's character flaws. It's her self-doubt. It's pretty much her biggest one. That, and she's kind of reckless. So descriptions of the classrooms are here. Basically, Isla and Claire do not get along at all. Isla is Silas's ex-girlfriend, and Claire has this thing for Silas that she's not admitting, and it's part of what is breeding this sort of animosity between them. I love this line so much. Basically, Isla keeps calling Claire half-blood because she's half human, half fae, and Claire's basically having none of that, so yeah. The next page I get into, this is when I introduce their instructor, and I underlined like some key things about him just because this is like the main instructor that, you know, she has other instructors, but this is the main one that I talk about. a lot because they spend a lot of time in this class in this book. So they're about to have like this basically a showdown because the kids come there. A lot of them have never wielded the elements before, so combat skills is basically physical strength training, hand-to-hand combat training for the first little bit of it. And so they're basically having like sparring practice, and so Isla challenges Claire and Claire doesn't back down. These are just like some notes I made over here on like fight scenes. So basically with fight scenes, what I try to do is I try to keep what the character is fighting for as the center focus of the fight. I try to make them quick because when you fight in real life, it's quick. And I try to use like shorter sentences. And also like when you're under stress, things are like very much heightened. So like she recognizes how cold the marble is. So I underlined that and underlined basically why she's agreeing to this fight, pretty much. And I just wrote a note here that I think it's important that you introduce like the main players in the story as quickly as possible. If not, physically have them there, at least mention them early on in the story. And I'm happy that I did that because it basically doesn't make them feel like they came out of nowhere to the reader. Like I've read books sometimes and I'm like, who is this person? Why are they here? And so, yeah, I'm glad that at least I mentioned them early on so that you know that they're a part of the story. And side note, I know like my formatting needs a work and I am working on it, but I love like the space I left here because if you do like to annotate books, like I do like to annotate books, there's space here for you to annotate. And I don't know, it's been really helpful for me because like I said, I really do like annotating books, so I'm glad that there's like space in the margins for me to do that. And that's the first 5 chapters so far. I've got 15 to go. Okay guys, so this is officially the end of this video. In a little bit I am going to finish up with my annotating slash reread of Sparks and Shadows, and then I'm gonna do like a little flip through so you guys can see, along with like me sharing my overall thoughts about this experience with you guys, because it has really been eye-opening for me. I have about 2 chapters left. I've been taking it to work with me in this little book sleeve that I got from Amazon, with all my little pins in the front. And I have about 2 chapters left, so I figured I'd do those on camera and then do my little wrap up. So I'm about to do that right now. Okay, so full disclosure, I was completely unprepared for how much fun this turned out to be. I completed this task over the course of a week, and it was such an eye-opening, beautiful experience for me because, like I said earlier, I have been working on this story, revising it, brainstorming it, writing it, completing it, scrapping it, starting over again from scratch. You name it, I've done it to the storyline ever since I was 16 years old. And so I really feel like this is the story, Sparks and Shadows is the story that made me a writer. It's where I honed my craft and found my voice, and I just had forgotten how much I loved this story, how it made me fall in love with the art of storytelling itself. And by rereading the story and annotating it, I just fell in love with the story again. I found my confidence as a writer again because I felt like I'd been doubting myself a lot. And you know what? I am a damn good writer. And I'm not being conceited. I just, this is my gift and it's my talent. It's my passion. It's what I feel like I was put on this earth to do. And I feel like I have found my zest for it again. and I owe it to this experience, and it's been such a great experience, and I'm going to repeat it for every single one of my stories in the future, because I feel like it's just important to do, not just to hype myself up, but to really study my craft, to study my own writing, because I study, writing when I read other books. I read for entertainment, but I also read, to study the art of storytelling. But I think it's important for me to study my own work, because like I said, I need to, get familiar with my own voice. And so that's what I'm basically doing here. I'm reading through a section of a story and marking different things, different colors, and just basically looking to see what I did well and what I could do better. Now, I did find a lot of places where I could have done things better. I pointed out a lot of lines that were a little cheesy, pointed out where I waxed poetic a little bit too long about certain things, pointed out where, I could have elaborated on things a little bit better. I could have set things up a little bit better, just so that in the future I know what to look out for. And that's valuable information for me going forward, and I am definitely going to use that information. But I just made little notes to myself in the margins. This was eye-opening to see the ratio of things, the tropes that I used. I wrote down found family a lot. I wrote down, I marked my love triangle, where it started, where it was kind of resolved, and I got to see how long that I stretched that out for, if I could have stretched it out longer, if I was satisfied with the length that it was. I got to see how much of the found family I included to make sure that it was prevalent, and I was very happy with that. I pointed out all the antagonists, all the characters, and I just love what I did with the story. I'm so proud of it. I got to see the ratio of romance to conflict, and saw that it was balanced. I got to see the ratio of character development to world building, and saw that it was balanced, and just really fell in love with what I did here. And yeah, I can't advocate for this enough. If you are a writer, to get yourself a paperback copy of your book, or even if you just print it out on a printer and do this. And then one thing I noticed was that I was writing with the 3-act story structure before I even knew what the 3-act story structure was. And that just kind of proves to me that I'm on the right path. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I can get back to loving every minute of it with confidence, knowing that I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. So that concludes this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye.